In a world where two short-term rental bros come together.
What?
Not in that way, bro. There's a podcast of truly epic proportions where we talk about all things short-term rental and shoot the shit along the way. Welcome to the Co-Host Bros Podcast. Here are your hosts, Meaike and Austin Spitz.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Co-Host Bros Podcast. My name is Meaike, and I'm here with my buddy Austin Spitz. And today we have the GOAT of the short-term rental space, Bill Faeth. What is going
What's
on,
up,
Bill?
bros? How are my bros today?
Oh, living the dream, trying to recover from the last few days.
What are you recovering from? Me throwing you off the raft or what?
Oh, man, my neck still hurts. Like, the first one was cool, but, I mean, the second time, once I flipped you off, then you were just like, okay, I'm going to go as fast as the boat goes. And then,
I didn't think my boat could hit 40 miles an hour with you on that tube back
I
there,
didn't
but
think
we did it.
I could hit 45 miles an hour flying off the tube. I don't know how far I flew. I'm going to have to look at the video because I flew, I don't know. I was like, shit, I don't even know how far I went. It was pretty aggressive.
I've never had so much fun at the mastermind meeting.
It was a good time, I'll tell you.
So, I'm not necessarily in the mastermind group, but I heard there was some property damage on Matt's last visit. Was everything okay with your property?
We're
there?
Still going through. It's a 12-bedroom place and 10,000 square feet, so we're still searching every inch to make sure he didn't fucking break anything at the last house.
I damaged nothing at this house.
He has a separate liability.
We made him switch from break dancing to line dancing at this mastermind. So line dancing was a little bit safer.
I know everybody was screaming, "Where are you at? Come dance." I'm like, yeah. It costs me money every time I dance. I can't do it.
I was thinking about getting Matt one of those Australian breakdancing jumpsuits from the Olympics. Because you would look sweet trying to spin on your head in that thing.
Yeah, and then I could act like I could break dance, but just do everything really slowly and, just awkwardly. Be just like the Olympics.
Nice.
So what's new with you, Bill? I know that you're doing boot camps, Orlando, Pigeon Forge, in New York. You got some more coming on that?
Yeah, we're almost sold out in New York and Pigeon Forge. I don't know when this is airing, but if it's not next week, we'll probably be sold out there already. Still have some tickets left in Orlando. And then I'll be making a huge announcement next week on a special event that I'll be hosting. When is this going to air? Do you know?
I'm going to air it early for you. I'm going to edit it right after this and get it up here today. So,
you're getting it up today
for you, yes.
Gosh, and I guess I can't make this announcement yet, but there will be a huge announcement coming next week in the middle of the week about a pretty awesome event from the Montana Mafia at my new house in Montana.
I mean, I'll wait till next week if you want me to. You tell me what you want me to do. But
I just got Pace locked in yesterday.
All right.
I just got Jerry Norton locked in yesterday. And I'm gonna have a free event on October 12th and 13th at my new place that's under construction that we're renovating, through B&B Rehab, the $3 million Montana place. We're gonna have 200 people, and it's gonna be free. So it's gonna basically be a 2-day boot camp. It's gonna be free. Usually charge $1,500 a ticket for that. I got Pace Morby coming. I got Jerry Norton flipping mastery on. If you don't know who Jerry Norton is, you should follow. Every one of your listeners should be following him. He is like legit the best flipper and wholesaler from an educator from a training standpoint. I'm actually going to be at his house next Thursday. I've got Patrick Switek coming, who has built 100, property co-hosting and property management business in less than 2.5 years. I think he was just on your podcast recently. I think I'm guessed like 87. I was hoping to make the top 50, but I guess I'm not that fucking good.
We try to put the best, later on. We want to keep.
You got to put the best at the front. I'm just telling you. I'll get you. I'll make sure when you guys. How many episodes have you guys had?
So we have about Right now we have 28 listed. I have about, I think we're at 30. I think I have 35 that I need to edit it total altogether.
You're trying to get to that 50 mark, aren't you?
I am. I haven't announced that yet. It's top secret because I want to make sure it actually goes through before
I'll see him
say
next
something
week. I'll help you.
All right.
I'll see him for Thursday when I'm at Jerry's house. So I'll help you with that.
Super exciting. Yeah. So you're gonna have.
So I'm super excited about this event. It's going to be unlike anything I've done, Matt. I mean, we're going to have a band. We're going to have a big party at my house. I've got tents, catering, all kinds of shit that it's not like a regular boot camp. If anybody's ever been to Pace, I went to Pace's community camp to have dinner with him and Jerry and Jameel this year. And I'd never been to it. And he had, all this shit set up. So this is going to kind of be like a mini community camp. The networking is going to be off the charts, the education. There'll be 10 people that get to stay at my house with me and have a special VIP experience with the speakers and all the stuff that we're doing. But it's going to be a free event for the 200 people. And the only people that will have to pay are the ones that want to stay at my house for the VIP stuff. And it should be fucking amazing.
That is bonkers. Wow. Austin,
bonkers. How old are you? 71? Who uses that word bonkers anymore?
I still use bonkers. Got to keep it
fresh. I
like
it, actually. I like it.
What was the timeline again? Around what time were you looking at or going to be hosting this?
October 12th and 13th.
Okay, gotcha.
In Whitefish, Kalispell, Montana. We'll be awesome. 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on the 12th, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on the 13th. That's Saturday and Sunday. VIP stuff will be on Friday night and also Sunday night. And the big bash will be at my house on Saturday night, the 12th.
Yeah,
and we might even throw in something. Awesome. I would invite you, Matt, but I mean, I'm probably going to throw in for the VIPs a little fly fishing on Monday for those that want to stay another extra day. But you might get a little chilly. I don't want you to. If you come, bring a jacket this time, more than a fucking hoodie.
Yeah, I'll bring a jacket. I don't want to check a bag, man. I just didn't feel like it. I was like, I don't want to pack a whole bag.
So let me tell you the secret. So I travel to Montana a lot, obviously, and the weather could be chilly, in October. And I will, if it's cold, I have like this big, long Canada Goose jacket. Like when it's really cold, I'll just wear it on the plane. So I usually almost never check a bag unless I take my wine bag with me, to that space. And I can probably get, I don't know, I've got a pretty big backpack. When we went to Italy for 3 weeks, we just took a backpack and a small carry-on, behind us for 3 weeks. I'll help you pack. I'll give you a lesson.
Yeah. I could just buy a house in Montana and leave it there. And just leave the jacket there.
There you go.
There we go. Hey, so let's jump into it. I want to talk about just the power of networking. And I know for our listeners that don't know, you hold the mecca of the short-term rental wealth conferences, and I have gone, I think, 3 years in a row. And the amount of people and the value that I've gotten from that has just been absolutely tremendous. So I want, if you don't mind, can you touch on from my perspective, I go to your conference. So what does it look like kind of at your level when you're out, and what is the power of networking kind of done for you in your career over the last, couple decades?
It's everything. Couple decades. That's nice. It's been 3, just so you know. I'm pretty much older than you guys. You hear about, your network is your net worth. And I hate when things get stereotyped that way, but it's 1,000% true. I will tell you, I wouldn't be sitting here with you guys if it wasn't. And there's a difference between networking and networking with intention that I learned very early on in my career. If I didn't play golf and I wasn't really good at golf, I wouldn't have got access to the people that would have helped me build my early businesses, right? So I think one of the big things is we have to create our own opportunities. People that just network, and I call them business card collectors. I used to see them in the ground transfer, the limo space, right? I was in that space for 5 years, and people would come back and they get back from a show or a conference and they have 500 cards and they take a picture of it and post it. Like, I am so good. I got 500 cards. Well, what the fuck are you going to do with those 500 cards? So I'm going to give you just one quick example. I started in the limousine space and basically Memorial Day of 2006. And July is when I had already got educated. I found this guy named George Jacobs on Windy City in Chicago, and I created my own access. He was coming to Nashville to play a bridge tournament here. I'd never met him. He's the Meaike. He's the biggest guy in the industry, right? He's the godfather of the limousine industry. And I called him and I saw him post in one of the Facebook groups, hey, I'm going to Nashville to play in a bridge event. I called his company. I asked to speak to George Jacobs. I told him I was the national affiliate manager. Didn't know. I just read that in the magazine. And he's like, really? And he kind of grilled me and figured out that I was kind of posing, and long story short, he came to Nashville. I said, I'll give you free transportation. I had my chauffeur pick him up in a limousine, not even a sedan or an SUV. You don't do that shit. That's stupid because I'm a rookie. But I sat in the back seat with him to go to the hotel. And what I found was by creating that opportunity, by giving him something for free, that I had about 15 minutes of one-on-one time with him that I would have never got. And what happened was we had a mutual friend that was actually flying in to play bridge with him, a guy named Dr. Wafiq Abdu from Bakersfield, California. He was an anesthesiologist. I taught him how to play golf. He was on George's 6-person bridge team that won like the European championships or something 6 months previously. So what do you think fucking happened? Ended up going to dinner with Wafiq and George the next night. And I got to build that relationship with George. So when I finally went to my first conference 3 months after starting, I said, George, I'd love to buy you dinner if you want to bring some friends. And he ends up having 12 people. And I'm like, I have no money. I've got like 4 cars. And literally the titans of the industry are sitting at my fucking table because I took a flyer to call the biggest guy in the industry, got lucky to create a relationship with him, extended that 3 months down the road into the show. Lo and behold, I met every titan that was there. And George let me fly up to Chicago once a month for 3 days to sit in his dispatch room, to sit in his reservationist room, to sit with his sales team, to learn the business. So I could give you 1,000 stories like that of how I've created my own opportunity, right? And I'll even go back and I'll let Matt answer this. Matt just spent 4 days with like 30 of our fellow mastermind members. And Matt, if you remember when I talked to you before you joined, I said, I'm probably 20%, 25% of the value of that mastermind. It's the people that are in it, right? So I think one of the biggest things is we have to create opportunities. So when you go to a conference like the STR Wealth Conference, and we'll have 5,000 people, at least that's the goal, to jump from 3,000 to 5,000 this year. Don't get fucking lost in the crowd. Don't try to meet 300 people. If you want to meet me or you want to meet Lise Morby or whoever it is, figure out the way to be able to do that, right? And focus on 5 to 10 people that can actually move the needle for you. I'll share one more story with you. I paid Daymond John $100,000 to come to that conference and be my keynote speaker last year. And I think he was phenomenal. And we kind of did the sit down with him and got to do a Q&A as opposed to just him being up there and speaking. So we had 30 minutes with him, really 20 minutes in the back room, the green room, before he went on stage. When he walked off and we're walking into the back room, in his contract, he has 10 minutes with nobody in the room so he can, eat his salmon or whatever and decompress from being on stage. And he said, hey, Bill, Meaike, why don't you guys come in with me? So we went in, nobody else, and just sat down with him and we just chatted. And we built a relationship, Austin. Long story short, I get it. And he's all, what do you got going on? I said, I'm working on a book deal, television show, blah, blah, blah. He's all, here's my cell phone number. Let's stay connected. He went to dinner that night. After he got done shooting the VIP, step and repeat stuff, he texts me. He's like, hey, can you come to dinner with me tonight? I'm like, I can't. I have our VIP stuff, but I thank you very, very much. At dinner at 8:30, I get a fucking phone call from Daymond. And we're in the middle of the VIP dinner. And I answer it. He's like, can you meet with my friend David tomorrow morning at 9:00? I'm like, no, I have another VIP thing tomorrow. I'm done at 1. I can do it at like anytime after 2:00. He set up a meeting for me to meet this guy, David, at 5th and Broadway, which has like all the restaurants and the bars and everything, at 3:00 in the afternoon. And all I know is this guy's name is David, but he said he'll see you when you walk in and he'll find you. Just go to the Pharmacy Burger and stand there. I go and I stand there, and then this guy, David, walks up to me. It's fucking David Arquette. Courtney Cox's ex-husband, actor, who is a producer and has 18 shows in a row picked up by Netflix, HGTV, all this stuff. I told Daymond I was shopping for production companies for my television show concept. I'm now in final negotiations with budgets for my television show. It's going to get fucking green lighted within 2 weeks. We just need to figure out one of two stations that it's going on. That's the power of creating opportunity, right? And kind of taking that network. It's not about the mass numbers that everybody looks at when they go to these networking events or these conferences. It's about being intentional and trying to build relationship. And the way you do that is by listening and digging deeper into somebody's life. Here's the connection between Daymond and I. It ended up being he's a snowboarder and I'm a skier. That's all we fucking talked about afterwards. And it started about stories and what we do with family and all that type of stuff. And it wasn't about business, which is what you would have thought that it was about. So we made that connection, and that's why he did that introduction. If I don't get that 20 minutes afterwards, or if we're just talking about conference or business or Shark Tank like everybody else, that's probably doesn't happen.
Yeah. I feel that. I think like some of these people that are, maybe at a higher level, I think it's very important to relate to them on a more personal level because everybody wants to look up to them and pick their brain and talk business. And they talk about this 24/7. So I think the value there is amazing when you're like, hey, like we're all people at the end of the day, regardless of what level you're at. How can I connect with you on a more human basis? So I think that's.
And I'm going to challenge you that most people don't think they're at a different level unless they're a fucking asshat, right? If they're an asshole, then they think they're at a different level. There is no different. Matt, how many properties do you own?
I own one.
Yeah, you own half of one right now.
Half of one right now. Yeah.
That's a bad joke.
Yeah.
Damn.
So there is no difference between Matt and me, right? Even though I've got 20 million plus of STRs, we are exactly the same, right? We are both trying to be great husbands, great fathers, great business leaders for our family. That's it. There is nothing different. I don't care how much fucking money somebody has. I don't care. We had a new mastermind member first meeting. He has his own private jet. He's worth mega millions worth of dollars, probably over 50 million, maybe 100 million. He's the exact same as us. The only thing he does is talk about snow leopards all the time, which is pretty funny. But we're all the same. And I think, and here's the deal, Austin, is I think that, and a lot of your listeners probably would think, oh, and Matt sees this all the time with me. People don't, and he said this. I told him, reach out to me. I will help you any fucking time. And he said the same fucking thing to me. I see you traveling. You're always on the go. You're too busy. I don't want to bother you. I mean, I live a public life. I want to help people. Daymond John wants to help people. It's harder when you get to be Daymond John's level of living the public life or popularity than it is for me. It's harder for me than it is for Matt. But if I really care, I'm going to take care of the people that I care about, right? So I think that's one of the big things. A lot of people will go to a conference and they'll be afraid to walk up to Pace Morby or Bill Faeth or, whoever it is. If you do that, you're never going to get the opportunity for them to tell you no. If you do it, you might get a no because they're too busy or heading to the airport, but you also have a same 50-50 chance of getting a yes.
Yep. I was just having this conversation with somebody yesterday, is that it's the allure. So like, I see you everywhere and I don't know you personally. So it's like, I think that you're different than what you are, but you're actually just a person. Everybody's just a person. We're all just people. So it's like, it's hard for people to understand that. And it's intimidating because, you see you in this big light and then, little over me with the 2/3 of a house, it's a different story. Right. So, and I would just tell people that people are approachable. I mean, I would say they're approachable for sure.
Dude, you know what I did yesterday, Matt?
I don't know. You drank bone broth?
What's that?
Drank bone broth?
Well, I drank a lot of Zen water yesterday. I saunted twice and I went for a 3-mile jog. But outside of that, I'm in my house all day. Literally, I had some calls and then I'm waiting for my daughter to get out of school at 2:00. I pick up my daughter. If anybody has a 14 or 15-year-old, I don't know if it's the same with you. I'm sure it is. All I get is school is normal. I don't get anything out of her. My wife's in Montana setting up this property. And she goes to her room and she reads and she's studying and she gets all her homework done on Friday. So I don't see her till 6:30. I said, hey, have you eaten? Let me make you some dinner. She eats dinner. She goes back. She does more homework. She does more studying. I don't see her. I'm by myself all night. So that's why I did a second sauna, right? I'm not flying around on fucking private jets and, eating $7,000 meals and all that type of stuff. And Daymond John's not either. Grant Cardone isn't either. Pace Morby isn't either. I think Pace is a great example. He's probably one of the biggest icons in our industry, right? In the real estate industry. You know what he does? Every waking minute that he's not working, he's with his girls and his kids. Every waking minute. I'm the same way, right? There's not, and that's probably the same thing that you guys do, right? Or that anybody else that's looking at us. We are not on a different level. We are all on the same level. We just maybe have done a few more deals and made a few more dollars. That's it.
100%. So we'll go into your regimen. I know Austin wants to ask about that. I kind of want to address the state of, the industry with short-term rentals as a whole. Didn't really want to ask you a lot about short-term rentals. I kind of wanted people to know more about you personally. But I kind of want to know like the top 3 things that you think that people should be doing to profit in the short-term rental space, or help them get their first co-host deal. One or the other, either one. I just want your opinion on that.
Really quickly, actually. And number one, most people are holding on to properties that they should have sold already. The mindset needs to shift. Is like, if you're one of the people that's losing $3,000 a month and you still have $150,000 in equity, reduce your price by 20 or 30 grand to get rid of the property. We are in the worst, seller's market right now. I had a call with Avery Carl yesterday. She's like, this is worse than 2008 or 2009 for us. So access your equity, access your cash, reposition that. You are a better investor today than you were 2 years ago or a year ago or 3 years ago before you bought that property. That's that whole return on equity thing that I talked about. The mindset is to hold way too long. Sell and reposition. Matt, that's exactly what I just did. I showed you at the mastermind meeting. I sold a beachfront property for $1.7 million. I took my $854,000. I put it into a $3 million property, put $633,000 down. What did I do with that other $200,000? I kept it as cash because I'm going to offset the tax burden without 1031ing by doing the lazy man's, 1031 by taking advantage of a bigger property, right? Lower land value and the cost egg benefit. So that 200 grand went into buying another condo, a ski and ski out condo that I close on in 2 weeks, right? That's probably, I paid $579 for it. It's going to be worth $1 million within 3 or 4 years. The second thing, from those of you that are investing and looking and struggling to find places to purchase, you've got to factor in appreciation and do the run rates on appreciation. That's got to go into your pro forma these days. It's more than just AirDNA and STR Insights data. Here's how I make my fucking money. I do super deep research into markets. I knew about the Gulf Shores Airport 5 years ago. People are just starting to talk about it, even though I made it public 2.5, 3 years ago in the last year to year and a half, right? That's why I was able to take a $980,000 property. It appreciated to 1.7 in less than 2.5 years. So you got to be ahead of that curve. You got to look at traffic drivers. You got to look at construction. You got to look. Nobody, Matt and Austin, go to the economic development office of the local markets that we're investing into. Almost nobody goes to the convention bureau of the local markets that you're investing into. You have to know these things to see what the future is going to be of growth in that market. Co-hosting, it's really simple. The biggest mistake that I see people making, and this is one thing I do like about Patrick, he has built his 100 properties in Joshua Tree, right? He has done exactly what I teach and dominating a market, becoming the person of interest in a market. Many people don't know that I still own multifamily, that I've been in the commercial space, right? I decided back in 2019 in the Clubhouse days when all of us coaches got on the Clubhouse, and that's really where we all met, that I am going to go in and I'm going to put my business history and acumen into investing and building long-term wealth by buying assets. When everybody was making boatloads of money coaching, arbitrage, selling the get rich quick scheme type of stuff and co-hosting and management, I was the black sheep. I was the only one that was teaching this, right? Because that's exactly what I do. I've never arbitraged, but I co-host. I don't do a lot with co-hosting on the educational side, but I think the biggest mistake is people are trying to co-host and be all things to everybody, and they're going into the co-hosting groups and they're trying to acquire clients everywhere. Go in and pick one market, educate for free in that market. Gary Vaynerchuk says this, literally spend 90 days educating. Put out a 1 minute fucking reel on Instagram, a video once a day. It takes me 50 seconds to shoot a video and 45 seconds, literally 2 minutes, I can post onto Instagram helping people. You will become a local celebrity. That's what you all think I'm a big celebrity. The only reason is because I stand on stages, and the only reason I stand on stages is because I've done the extra work and done this every single day for the last 4 years. If I didn't do that, I wouldn't be the local celebrity in the STR space. When I go to a conference with Brendan Burchard or Russell Brunson or Amy Porterfield or somebody else, I am not a big deal. I am just like everybody else that walks into that room. I am only in this space. That may change with TV show and book and stuff into the future, but today it's just STR. I've dominated one market. I started buying and investing in the Gulf Shores, and I dominated that market. I own 9 properties there at one time. I bought and sold another 27 properties there. So where do you think I started co-hosting? In Gulf Shores, and I dominated that market. I only do beachfront and tier 2. Why? Because I treat my co-hosting portfolio the exact same way that I treat the way that I invest. I don't take on properties now that are going to do less than $200,000 in revenue. That means I'm going to make $40,000 to $50,000 a year in my commission per property. The second part of this, Matt, is most people take on properties that aren't going to move the needle for them because they don't have enough self-worth. They don't have enough confidence in their own ability. Find a big property, target places like 30A, target the best properties in Joshua Tree. If you're going to the Smokies, don't go into Wares Valley with your, average run-of-the-mill 4-bedroom that's underwater. Go find the best property, a 6-bedroom, a 7-bedroom at the top of Ober. Find something in downtown Gatlinburg, whatever it is. Find the best properties and go work for them for free. If you don't have a case study, if you don't have a track record, one, if you own property and you've been successful, you can use that and build your own case study. Number 2, if you don't have that and you're just getting started, I don't care where you are, if you're in Crystal Beach, if you're in Broken Bow, wherever, go work for somebody for 90 days, but target a property that has tremendous potential that's underperforming that you're going to make some money off of. And I promise you, if you do a good job in 60 to 90 days, 1, you're going to acquire your first client as a co-hosting client, and 2, you're going to be able to charge a bigger percentage. So if you think you're 15%, remember, all of us undervalue our own self-worth. Do it for free for 90 days, and when you think you're 15, raise it to 22, then discount it to 20, and then charge $199 a month retainer on the back end. But target a property that's going to be profitable.
Hey everybody, this is Matt from the Co-Host Bros podcast. I recently came back from a mastermind trip and I spent a lot of time talking about taxes with Ryan Meaike. So Ryan normally took on clients that had 10 plus listings. Well, he created a brand new program where he's going to take on people between 1 and 10 listings for a lot cheaper at a small business owner price. It's going to include on-demand support, monthly calls, and tax prep. They're going to do little coaching calls monthly, things like that, to help you save as much money as possible on your taxes in the future, including on this year. Ryan has helped thousands of people save money, investors especially, and you really don't want to sleep on this because I think the price will go up at some point. You're going to save far more money than you spend. If you're really interested in changing CPAs and finding something better, go ahead and click the link that I posted for you inside the show notes. Now we're going back to the show.
Absolutely. So I talk to people a lot and that are trying to get started as well. And I think they have the wrong mindset of like, just because they've done it once on their own property, they're like, well, I'm only going to take properties that going to do over 150, and they got to have a pool and they got to have that. So would you agree that that's kind of based on what you're saying? It sounds like that would be the wrong mindset. Like instead you should take the property, get the practice, get the reps in, potentially work for free first to demonstrate your value.
Yeah, yes and no.
Then after that,
I don't want them to take on a property that's going to do $50,000 a year for free, because that's going to be a shitty client. They need the case study, but I want them to go after that big property that's underperforming, that's maybe managed by Evolve or a local PM or Vacasa or something like that, that has room for growth, but they've got to lead that to growth. So if I come into you, Austin, and you've got that property that's doing 120 and I think it can do 175 and it's $1 million property, but it's still Golden Girls design, doesn't have hot tub pool, whatever, I'm going to put some parameters down. Hey, we need to do this, this, and this. If you're not willing to make any investment to upgrade the property, I'm still not going to take it on, because then I can't max out, revenue management. I can't max out your return. So I'm still going after those big properties because that's what I want for the case study, because that's what I'm going to be trying to attract in the future. I'm just willing to work for them for free, but I'm going to most likely in almost every case need something from you as the owner to at least make a small investment. And small is probably like 10 grand when you're talking about a property like that. If we can get 20 or 30, that's a little bit different. And that's going to set the tone for what we're going to have to work with. You still have to have the canvas to be able to paint. You know, if the canvas already has a shitty picture that's been painted on it and we got to go over the top of it and try to repaint it, that's going to be a big challenge.
Yeah, I think the last time I spoke with you, I don't know if you remember in Houston, and we randomly started talking about my co-host business. I started talking about how I had 2 or 3 properties that I managed that did make like around $50,000, and I had put them on when I just started as a mistake. And I don't know if you remember what your advice was to me, but you were like, drop them, and I was like, what? And you were like, no, like tomorrow, like drop them tomorrow. And I was like, okay. I wasn't expecting that, but that was the exact answer that I needed to do. I'll be honest with you, I didn't do it tomorrow, but a few weeks passed by, and I did take that advice, and I did it, and I absolutely do not regret it. My life got easier.
Did you
I think one
replace
thing that
them
you
with a
say
bigger
that I think
property?
is I've replaced them with 2, yes. So I'm still just trying to make up the gap. So so I got rid of 2, and at this point I've
Okay, so
gotten
you
2 more
dropped
that
2
are
roughly that are
double
making 50
the amount,
grand. What are the new 2 generating?
about 80
Okay,
to
so let's
100.
just say that it's 80 on the low end. 20%, if you're charging 20% like most people do, it's 20% of 50 is 10 grand. 20% of 80 is 16 grand, just for rough hypothetical numbers, right? So you
Sure.
literally just increased your profit margin by 60%. That's what everybody should be
I don't
doing. It's the
regret it
same way
either. I
I do
think
in investing. That's why I buy and sell, buy and sell, buy and sell. Same thing I do with my co-hosting. That's the mentality of I'm going to hold on to it. So there's a big thing called pipeline in sales and really running a legitimate business. So the reality, even though I told you to sell them yesterday, really is a mental tactic for me to just get you to make a decision, which you did. But really what you want to do is you want to look at a pipeline. And when you look at a pipeline, like in any sales, any business, if you have a 6-step sales process, like in my co-hosting masterclass, we go through a 7-step process, right? And if you track what your close rate is at each one of those steps, when you get that first client that's going to go from 50,000 to 80 to 100, and they get to step 4, and you close 50%, they get to step 5 and you close 75%, right? Then maybe I might be comfortable at 50%. You might be comfortable at 75%. That's when you put in your 30-day notice or whatever it is for the previous client. But you got to have CRM to do that. It's literally one of the reasons that I started my partnership with Scott Hill and we created Market My STR. It actually wasn't for owners. We really created it for co-hosts because you have CRM, pipeline, all tied into everything we need as a co-host. And I still use that to this day. Even though I don't do sales for co-hosts, they just come to me out of referrals. I literally still have to go through that exact same process, even though I'm not mining for new co-hosts, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so one thing it did also was it freed up my time, and something that the nugget you dropped that made a lot of sense to me is it takes the same amount of energy to manage the 2-bedroom away from the lake than it does the 5-bedroom on the lake. And I realized that, and I was like, yeah, I really am wasting my time with these properties, and I am at the same time undervaluing like what I actually bring to the table, because it's almost like all these prospects that I meet with, I'm so confident, and it's proven that I can absolutely bring them so much more value, and I need to understand that, like, that I need to play that in my part and use that as leverage, versus some of these bigger
It's
property
really
managers.
interesting how investing and co-hosting, they're almost the same, right? Matt, do you remember John Hodge, what he said when he was up there about his properties? John the Bank Whisperer Hodge, when he joined the mastermind 3.5 years ago, had 120 properties, all 1 and 2 bedrooms. I think there was 1 3-bedroom. He now owns 8 super properties. He has no more 1 and 2 bedrooms. He has gone from 120 properties to 8 properties. You know what's happened to his net income? It's increased by like 20%. There's a million ways to skin the cat, but you hit the nail on the head, Austin. It's about time. So if you remember what he said, Matt, the most important thing when I had that first call with him after the boot camp, when he joined the mastermind, was he wanted 28 days of vacation in a year.
Yeah.
Did 40 before the end of the year. Right now, the dude fucking vacations like I travel.
He's probably doing all the time.
75 days, 100 days a year in vacation because he restructured his portfolio around it, what his life goals were for his family. Right. So I believe in every business I've ever been in, I've always tried to ascend from a not really dynamic pricing standpoint, but there's a term called pricing elasticity. Right. And I try to stretch every single dollar I can out of every business that I have, because that means if I can increase 25% in price elasticity, that means I can work less or have 25% less businesses, right? And I think a lot of people don't understand that concept. That's why Louis Vuitton is what Louis Vuitton is. Louis Vuitton sells literally like 31% of the volume of product that Gucci sells. Louis Vuitton, the average bag is priced at like 70% higher than Gucci. They've figured out the price elasticity for their consumer base.
Yeah, I think going into it, and I had the wrong mindset when I first started this, which was a volume game. Like, I'll just keep stacking properties. And I've completely pivoted from that mindset where it's like exactly what you said, thinking of it more of investing. Like, what is my time going to cost me to manage this property and how much of a
And
return
that's
I'm going
not
to
your
get?
fault,
But
Austin.
I
That's
wanted
what
to
most people are teaching on the co-hosting side, the property
Mhm.
management side, and even the arbitrage side. And even in people that teach how to buy and build wealth, it's all, buy $300,000 properties. Okay, well, Matt, go buy fucking, five $300,000 properties. I'm going to buy one $1.5 million property, and I'm going to work 1/5 the amount of time, because I'm going to have 1/5 the turnovers, 1/5 the number of people in there. All those things that the easiest way is just for people to sell volume. So that's why the coaches are selling it.
1/5 this.
Sure. So talk about,
Oh, I said
sorry, do you have
1/5 the
something, Matt?
setup. Now you got to set up 5 properties versus 1, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Agreed.
So talk about the importance of it seems like you have a pretty solid team around you. You mentioned John Hodge. We know some of the other people that you work with. Talk about the importance of having, people that are very, very good at what they do in your corner and kind of your team
Yeah, my
structure.
wife, she's amazing. That's my team. I don't
Best
have any
teammate.
other teammates.
Best teammate.
On the properties that we own and co-host, it's just me. I do 95% of it. My wife literally manages and watches Airbnb and Verbo. She doesn't even know how to log into OwnerRez. She just looks for like Airbnb messaging when I am not available, and that's usually only when I'm like on stage or with my mastermind or inner circle groups. If I'm flying, I always have Wi-Fi. First thing I do when I jump on a plane, because I fly like every week, I ask the flight attendant, "Hey, is this plane's Wi-Fi working?" And they say yes or no. If it's no, I immediately text my wife, say, "Hey, my flight's an hour, 3 hours, whatever. I need you to watch this stuff." But I do 95% of this all by myself. It's not Chris is not involved in this outside of setting up some technical stuff for me. The selecting of properties, the contracts with co-hosting. My wife does invoicing for me for our co-hosting business, and she helps out when I need it. That's about it. So it doesn't take a huge team to make $400,000, $500,000 in net income co-hosting, right? That's what I did. 440 last year. I'm probably going to do closer to 6 this year, but I also took on some bigger properties. The 2 OBX properties that I have that are both beachfront and the OBX. So and that's a whole nother level for me to level up. The house that Matt just stayed in is a whole nother level for me, not only on the construction side, but also in how I'm structuring a lot of my co-hosting deals now. There comes a point where it's not just about the cash flow from co-hosting, and I think that's what we're ingrained to think about. You can also have the cash flow and build equity if you start taking equity from your co-hosting clients. Now, it's not just going to work from a co-hosting standpoint. I find the property, I negotiate the deal, I GC the construction, my wife designs it, then I co-host. Those are the 5 things that go into it. But now I'm getting 20% equity. So I've did this deal with a gentleman, and about $13 million worth of real estate, I've got 20% equity. So not only am I getting my co-hosting 20%, but I've also got 20% equity in $13 million worth of real estate. That's kind of that next level. And a lot of people listening are probably, well, you're Bill Faeth, you're Build Short-Term Rental Wealth, blah, blah, blah. He didn't have any fucking idea who I was when I had lunch with him through a warm introduction, through an existing co-hosting client. That didn't matter to him. It doesn't matter what you think your status is. If you can present how you're going to benefit the other party, you can get that deal too. There's a member in our mastermind that was leaving to go to Asheville, North Carolina. Won't say his name, but Matt knows that was his deal. He didn't believe he could get that deal until I showed him how to do that in Whitefish, right? And now he's getting cash flow and equity on the back end. That's how you build true wealth as a co-host.
Sure. I like how you say that and you structured your partnership, because I see that like debated online quite a bit of how people structure these partnerships who potentially want to be like the sweat equity partner, if you will. So what do you think, like from your perspective, what is what is the ideal
20%
maybe?
equity is the magic number. Because if somebody goes in and does 30%, 40%, 50%, that's great. But now you have to PG that, meaning you have to personally guarantee that along with the person that's going in. And it doesn't matter if they have millions of dollars, right? And an 850 perfect credit score and you're at 700, you still, if you take on $1 million in debt, you still take $1 million and they take $1 million. It's not like you split it. That's why I don't ever want husband and wife that are purchasing to be on the same note, right? One or the other purchases to protect the debt. So that's why I do 20%, right? So that way I don't have to personally guarantee. I didn't have to personally guarantee anything on that $13 million worth of real estate. It was actually about $9 million that we purchased, and we put almost $4 million in ARV into it with about $1.5 million of rehab that we did. So that's something that becomes super important in how you structure. It's just an LLC. You have an operating agreement. You have a buy-sell agreement. Everything, just like in setting up any entity, is set up on the front end. We did an LLC for each individual property that we purchased with this gentleman, and he owns 80% and I own 20%. It's really that simple. I believe in the KISS methodology. Keep it simple, stupid.
How does that work from like a management perspective for you? Because if you're going to be managing the property, right? So like, what does that look like? Are you invoicing him monthly? Are y'all invoicing monthly? You're getting paid somehow for your management services, or no?
Well, no, I'm taking equity distribution out of the LLC. So it's off of a net. It's not off of gross, right? That's the difference. So you'll make a little bit less money, but it also makes me work harder, right? Than just getting 20% of gross on a standard, co-hosting deal. So it also makes me make sure I do a tremendous job on the construction and the design, because I'm trying to increase resale value as much as I'm trying to increase revenue, if that makes sense. So it's just a straight partnership, 80-20. Everything goes into the LLC bank account. We go through our P&L at the end of the month. We put X away for make sure we have our carry costs covered, just like we do when we buy a property. And then if there is a distribution made, it's 80-20. Really simple.
Makes sense. Okay, well, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I do want to pivot to something else, though. I have noticed, following your last 3 to 4 years, seeing you at conferences, I've noticed a drastic change in physical appearance with you. So, and for the better, of course. So, if you don't mind, touch on kind of your health journey over the last 3 to 4 years, because I see some results.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the most noticeable is I'm about 70 pounds lighter than I was a couple of conferences ago. I don't know how that reflects online. I guess my face is a little bit thinner if somebody hasn't seen me in person, but I was 306 pounds and I got diagnosed about a month before my 50th birthday, which was, what is this, May 11th of 2022, that I was pre-diabetic. And basically I've been the yo-yo like everybody else. I assume, Matt, you've probably been heavy and thinner, and I've got the XXX closet upstairs. I've got the XX closet, and I've got an extra large closet of clothes. Not kidding. And long story short, I found Gary Brecka, who was the catalyst for this. And I saw a video on Instagram of Dana White talking about Gary Brecka. Dana White's the founder, president, CEO of UFC. And Dana kind of went through the whole mortality deal with Gary and then got on the 10X supplements. And basically, I went through the gene mutation test to start with that Gary offers. Then I went through the mortality test and I found out I was 50 at the time and I was going to die when I was 62 years old. I had 12 years to live. And for people that don't know who Gary Brecka is, he was the foremost mortality expert in the world, working for the 3 largest life insurance companies. He had access to 350, 400 million medical records. And when they take your blood work, they can see everything in your gene mutation, your supplements, your lifestyle. They know everything about you, your hemoglobin, your triglycerides, all that type of stuff. And they got it down to a science to where they could predict within 90 days of when somebody's going to die with like 95, 96% efficacy. And I was 12 and a half years. I was almost on the same plane. Dana was like 11 years. And I didn't want to die when I was 62. And my parents were divorced when I was young. So I only know my mother's side. My dad was never around. My mom died when she was 74. My grandfather was 74. And my grandmother died like 2 weeks after she turned 75. So I was 50 and shit, I've lived 2/3 of my life. My kids were young. They're now 18 and 14, as I told you guys pre-show. I mean, if my youngest daughter goes to college and gets married at 24, 25, has kids at, let's just say 30, that's 16 years from now. I'm fucking dead by then. I don't see grandchildren. I don't get to walk her down the aisle. And I don't get to do the stuff that I love the most now. Like my favorite thing, I'm obsessed with skiing. And just, I love being outdoors. I love fishing. I love hiking. I love running. I have a 28 miles behind my house here that I already went for a 3-mile jog this morning. I just like being outside. I also have seen the deterioration of my mother, who passed away in 2018, when she became inactive and she was overweight. And I'm going through the deterioration of my father-in-law right now, and it's killing my wife. And the other person is Martin Cove, Sensei Kreese from Karate Kid and Cobra Kai series. He's become a very good friend of mine. He was actually my first co-hosting client. He became a very good friend of mine. And I had him at that first conference, if you remember the second conference, Austin, when I brought him out as a special guest. And he's the same age as my wife's father, my father-in-law. They're both 76 years old. And man, Martin is a physical fucking specimen. And he is just in great shape. He works out every day. He's probably like an average 50 or 55-year-old. But then I see my father-in-law, who can't even get out of bed and walk to the bathroom anymore. And when he does, he just had a huge incident earlier this week. He fell and he's back in the hospital again. And that's the lack of ability to be able to live the life that he wants at 75 and to travel with us to Montana and do those things. I don't want to do that. I'm fine with that at 90. I don't want to have that happen. So I went all in with Gary. I changed doctors. I went from a regular physician. I invested the money to get a concierge doctor. I went through all the testing, everything you could imagine I've had tested. I found out I had to pay $3,000 to get this special, CT scan where I had to take beta blockers and slow my rate down to the rotation of the camera to really see inside of my heart, because my whole family had heart disease. I've got high blood pressure. And this was probably 7 months ago. They found 27% blockage in my Widowmaker. And I didn't even know, like, if the microphone's your heart, the Widowmaker comes down and then it splits and it wraps around. And it was right here where it splits and wraps around underneath the heart. And I'm like, what does that mean, Craig? He's like, it means that if you are on a plane as much as you fly and you have a heart attack, you are most likely going to die, even though it's only 27%. And I didn't even know what caused it. He's like, you realize when you have a heart attack, the blood rushes into the heart, right? And it floods it, and it's going to get blocked and it's going to get clogged right there. And it's not going to get around the bottom of your heart. And that really hit home to me. And, that's when we went in and he talked about the collagen. I won't go too deep, but there's like collagen fatty stuff around it. We got to reduce that. And not only did I go through that with him, but the Cleveland Clinic put me on a program, the foremost authority in heart disease. And I discussed it with Gary. I spent the $1,500 to have an hour-long call with Gary because I wanted as many opinions as I could get. Fast forward, I ramped up my supplements. I started sauning and red lighting, more than I was previously. Instead of having the excuse that I can't get to the Restore location that's 10 minutes away because I got to do a podcast or a call, I eliminated the excuses, right? And I fucking bought a $7,500 sauna and spent $5,000 on red lights. Now, I know everybody can't afford that, but those things, I went back in 4 months later, changed my eating habits, almost very little white pasta, very little red meat. I didn't cut everything out, very little butter, no more. I love like San Luis sourdough bread, and our friends from California send it to us, and we have toast like every night. I used to. I didn't eliminate everything, but I cut back to where I wouldn't binge when I had access to it, right? And really that 27% blockage went down by like 6% to 21% after the first 4 or 5 months. I went back, I guess it's been 2 or 3 weeks ago. I'm down to 19%. Those are huge strides. And he also put me on Crestor, whatever type of drug that is as well. Huge, huge deal. And that's kind of the point that I talk about in the short-term rental space, the business space, but also here in the life space. It's about the Shilajit. It's about the NAD that I'm taking. It's about the supplements. It's about the jogging. It's about the working out. It's about the saunas, the red light. It's stacking everything. It's not just one thing. It's not just not eating and starving myself or doing a fast or whatever. It's all of that combined to where now I'm going to live to be, or at least according to Gary Brecka, 78 versus 62.
And you feel better every day.
Here's the biggest thing for me. We bought a big Banner Elk property in early 2021. And winter of 2021, we stayed at that property between Christmas and New Year's. And that's when we learned, actually it was 22, sorry. We learned how to ski, got our skiing lessons. I got COVID. My 2 daughters got COVID. My wife didn't get COVID. I have not been sick since then. Not a cold, not a cough, not in bed. I used to get like chronic bronchitis every winter and I'd be bedridden for like a week to 10 days. It would always turn into pneumonia every single year. I've also had 2 pulmonary embolisms in my lungs. I haven't been sick one freaking time since I started on this journey. My immune system is just off the charts these days. And I'm not a guy that masks up and, does all that type of stuff. It's improved my quality of life. I mean, I can ski longer than my wife, who's younger than me and was in better shape than me. I could ski longer than Chris, who works for me. I mean, I can go out there and do that. For the worst thing that I see is I want to do something with my kids and I can't do it with them. And I'm seeing that with my father-in-law at 76. And I don't want that to happen to me. That's not that far away for me. I still want to be the old guys that I see out on the ski slopes skiing. I still want to see the old guys I see when I'm floating down a river in Montana with Matt when it's snowing outside and it's like 18 degrees. The guy the 75-year-old that's standing in the river, fishing and doing that type of stuff. So for me, it's not necessarily longevity to live to be 100. It's about, I want to have an extremely active life for the next 25 to 30 years of my life.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. And I know this is probably the longest podcast you ever did in your life. So we'll wrap it up. But
I've actually been on a 2.5 hour podcast.
Okay. I don't want to overtake you, but no, yeah, I actually seen you really take it seriously too, and you've been telling us about it. And I only know one time you've gotten sick, and that was because a mastermind member bought food, and that
Oh yeah, Lori almost killed fucking 12 of us.
She's not allowed to anymore, but yeah, so she just tried to kill everybody. But
well, if you notice, I don't know if you noticed or not, but at gas station sushi the last night, I had 1 beer at dinner. I didn't drink any wine or anything when we got back to the house. The previous night, I had 2 glasses of wine. The previous night to that, I had 2 glasses of wine. It's whereas in the past, I would stay up till midnight and drink a bottle or a bottle and a half, have 5 or 6 glasses. It's in moderation, right? So what I did when I went back to the house, that the last night, the second night, I actually went and took a long cold shower. Because I sauna, I use my hot tub out that door, I cold plunge, I red light therapy, I do exercise every single day. I went for a jog, on the second day at my house just for like 2 miles to get some exercise in. Those are all things I didn't used to do. And you just went through something, I don't want to say it's similar, but you did something that's hard that I've never even done, 75 hard, right? And you did it every single day while you had a major catastrophe in your life. And I think I saw you post, sometimes you were down at the house that was demolished by a hurricane and you're going on your jog or your walk or whatever it is to get your outside workout that day. Yeah. So I think everything has nothing to do with physicality. I can run 5 miles now and I can do a 10-minute mile. When I ran 7, 8 years ago, I could do 9-minute miles at 5 to 7 miles. So I'm not as fast as I used to be, but here's what I want everybody to know. On the investing side, I started with 126 grand and bought a $600,000 property like anybody else. On this journey, this health side, it took me 3.5 months to where I could run a mile without stopping. I had to walk just like everybody else. And what I did is I just kept walking and walking and walking, not just going outside for walks, because even my shins would hurt. And I don't know about your weight, Matt. I mean, I was 306. When you walked, if you get shin splints or your knees would hurt or whatever. For me, I had that. So I would do it in smaller doses inside, but it was either 3 or 4 months before I could run a mile without stopping because my legs hurt so bad. And there was this magic number, whether it was placebo or not. Once I broke into the 240s, that's when I was able to go 2 miles. When I got into the 230s, that's when I did the first 5 miles without being able to stop. And now I can do whatever I want. But a lot of people think that, like you said earlier, Austin, that I'm different or I'm this big brand or whatever it is. I still struggle with the same shit that everybody else struggles with. I mean, last night I'm here by myself. Man, my oldest daughter wants to go to her favorite restaurant for dinner. I haven't seen her for like 10 days because of the mastermind and travel and all that type of stuff. She's in college, and it's been hard to be away from her. And I'm like, I can't go. I can't eat. And if I go there, I know I'm going to eat. So I can't put myself into that situation. When I decide to do this 84-hour fast, it's the third time I will have done this in a year. Matt, I did my first one the day after you guys left, and I sent Chris and Libby on the flight. And it's easier when I'm by myself because I don't have all of those distractions. I did another one in May when I was by myself in Montana, and I'm doing this one now because my wife's out of town. My oldest daughter's not here. But it's a lot of people use those emotional things as excuses to break whatever we're doing. And I can't emphasize enough, it has nothing to do with the physicality. That 75 hard has nothing to do with losing weight, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. It's everything about how fucking mentally strong you are for 75 days to check every one of those boxes. And to be honest with you, I've never done it. I want to do it because I don't think I can do it.
I'll do it with you. We'll do it again.
Yeah.
Austin will do it again too. Austin was in on it too. So,
but it's all up here. People think it's physical. It's not. It's all mental.
What's important to you?
Matt completed it. I failed on day 48 because I forgot to take the selfie picture in the mirror. And that's part of one of the checklists. And I was so pissed because I was like, if any way I would have lost, it probably would have been caving to alcohol at a wedding or something like that. And I kicked that can down the road. And then I woke up the next day and Andy Frisella was right there saying, you failed because I forgot to take the picture. And I was like, fuck.
Yep.
Yeah, he was mad.
It's like doing a dry January or whatever. You can't have a sip on the last night. You got to do it to the exact minute. My wife and I went through that. We went to Montana. We went out to dinner at our favorite restaurant, and she had a glass of wine. I'm like, what are you doing? We can't drink until tomorrow. She's like, it's close enough. So now I give her shit because I didn't drink that night.
That's what people would say to me. Oh, it's day 75. You can have a drink tonight. And I was like, no, tomorrow. But once you go, especially if you drink regularly, once you don't drink for 75 days, it's different. Like the whole mastermind meeting, I think I had a White Claw. That was all I had the whole time. It's just different. And like to your point, it's just that people don't seem to understand. It's really just what's important to you. You're making it important to you to go do your sauna. You're making it important to you to do it again. You're making it important to you to exercise. You're making it important to you to, reduce your widowmaker. And I did want to ask, has your blood pressure got better? Because, I meant to.
100%. I am off of high blood pressure medication.
Awesome. Yeah.
So what you said is what's important, right? So I built this thing. You got one of these at the mastermind meeting. And it's interesting because the big thing that I focus on is right there at the top, and it's my daily priorities. And even though there's tasks underneath that, that's actually something that I never fill out. I only put one priority at the top. So I only work on one priority every single time. And there's a difference. You've probably heard me say this before. I don't have time is the adult version of my dog ate my homework. It's a fucking excuse. We all have this. My wife hates this because I say that all the time. That, you know what? You do have time. You just have not prioritized what's important to you. And she gets so pissed off at me about it. I don't say it to her anymore, believe me. But I truly believe in that. Once you have that mindset shift, and I'm not going to go all Tony Robbins on you guys, but if you really focus on one priority and then you pay diligent attention, because we do a lot of these repetitive tasks in our life, whether it's sauning, whether it's, listing optimization, revenue management, whatever it is. And then you track how long it takes you. So one of the keys in my planner is that every one of those priorities, I have a start time and an end time. So I'm tracking it. That does another thing. It helps me plan better. It helps me budget my time better. And it also helps me become more efficient. Can I turn 11 minutes in, revenue management on a co-hosting property on a Monday into 8 minutes, and still get the effective results, right? It's not about trying to do it faster to, be one of these guys that preaches that I can manage a, $500,000 co-hosting portfolio in 3 minutes a week. That's bullshit. But it's about optimizing, what we're doing. That's the thing that I look at. So I don't track my overall work time, but I want to optimize each one of those priorities.
Yeah, it's a super in-depth planner too. So I plan to start using that.
It is. I can't wait to get this out to everybody. So you have it, and my Brianna and Chris got one at the couples retreat. That was the only place that has that. It is not for sale. Just FYI, I'm not pitching to sell sell that by any
But
means.
when it is, we'll update the show notes with the link.
There you go. Love it.
Well, Bill, thank you so much for coming on. I mean, I don't want to take any more of your time. I mean, I feel like I just took so much time today. So we really appreciate
Well, I think
you.
we got to stay like at least another minute and 48 seconds to hit the hour mark, right? We can't cut this off at like 59 minutes, can we?
Oh no, of course we can stay as long
That'd be a
as
travesty.
you
That'd be like
want.
you're
We'll
fucking
stay
drinking on day 75.
as long as you want. We'll stay, and if you want to do 75 hard, you let me know, and we'll do it. And then you can,
Okay.
if you congratulate that, then you can do the Live Hard program, which I think I'm gonna start phase 1 like next week. I don't know. I'm
not
still dreading
familiar
it.
with the Live Hard program. What is that?
After the 75, then there's like 3 other phases, and it's 30 days a piece. So like the next phase is all the same stuff plus a 5-minute cold shower. What was it? Like 3 additional tasks like you want to improve on, like regardless of what it is. So like, I don't know, an example is like if you don't brush your teeth twice a day, make sure you do that twice a day. Whatever the case may be, whatever you want to improve on. And then like 10 minutes of visualization, which is because I did start it before we came out there, but then I was like, yeah, I'm just not feeling I'm not going to make it. So I had to stop. And the hardest part was the cold shower because that fucking sucks. And then visualization because my brain's everywhere. So it's like my ADD is like, oh, I'm thinking of this and I'm thinking of that. And it's like, but I noticed as I kept doing it every day, it got more straightforward, right? So, I mean, I guess it's just practice, really.
It's the same thing as a cold shower. If you hate cold showers, you said it fucking sucks. As soon as you do like 5 of them, and then it won't suck anymore.
Oh yeah, after like the 5th time, I was like, just fucking, I'm getting in. Like, oh, okay.
I love. I that's all I take now is cold showers. I love it. I hated it just like you when I started.
Yeah.
But you said something about like you've got visualization. You need to plan your day. We also need to. I'm not into meditation, but I'm into being quiet and restful. And kind of trying to regenerate and clear my mind and my brain. So I can take 4 of those priorities in one day. I can knock all of those out in a 40-minute sauna session or 30-minute sauna session.
Yeah.
Right? So if you think about that whole stacking of, amenity stacking for a property or, value stacking in your sales process to acquire co-host clients, but you can also priority stack and how because we all have a bunch of tasks. We all have a million things that we need to do. But if you can learn how to stack those and knock them out together, that's a pretty big deal. So I'll give you an example. I did it this morning. I have I did a 45-minute sauna this morning because I got up early. Most times I'm doing like 30 minutes. So I turn down the heat a little bit. I go from like 175 down to 165. No, I'm going to go longer. I take my phone in with me, which I usually leave my phone out, but I just put it under a towel. So the first 15 minutes, I'm just quiet and I'm thinking. No music playing in the sauna, no nothing. Taylor will come later into, once I get done with my 15 minutes. I am a Swiftie, by the way. Guns N' Roses and a Swiftie. I know it's a weird combination. So I'm just quiet and I'm thinking about really probably for the first 5 minutes, just trying to clear my head and not really think about anything. The next 10 minutes, I'm going through and I'm planning out what I'm going to do today. What is my priorities? Because I don't have my planner with me. I fill that out the night before, actually. And to be perfectly honest with you, I forgot that I'd scheduled the podcast at 9:30. So thank God I thought about that. Like, what am I doing today? And I'm trying to visualize my calendar. And then I'm like, oh shit, I got to do the podcast at 9:30. Or I probably would have missed it and forgot about it. Yeah. I'm sure you would have texted me and I would have been on. But so then the last part of that is I'm going through and I'm trying to think about execution of how I'm going to manage my day. Because as soon as we get done with this, it's 10:30. I left my fucking iPad on my last flight. I got to go buy an iPad Pro. I got to take my daughter to go shopping for some clothes. I got to be back because my oldest daughter's coming home to stay the night tonight. I got to get her room prepared. I got to clean her cat's litter box. All these things that we all have in life, right? Now I'm mentally thinking, what's the priority? Then my alarm goes off 15 minutes out. So now you know what I'm doing? Instead of writing it down in the planner, I'm taking notes because I will forget. So I grab my phone. I put it on voicemail when I just start recording in my notes app to where now I'm just going through, okay, well, here's my priority. Here's my timeline. I'm scheduling everything here. Then I put it into the calendar when I get done, right? So I'm sauning, I'm getting my quiet space, I'm planning my day, and then I'm filling out my calendar all at 6:00 this morning as I'm going through and I'm literally priority stacking. So the other thing I did is I recorded Superhost Sunday in the sauna. This one may seem a little bit weird for people as I'm naked inside my sauna, but that's something that that's my hardest thing that I have to do for my community, that I always put off to the very last minute. And then I have to burden Chris. So like, I know tomorrow what I've got to do, and it's going to involve my oldest daughter, and I'm going to forget about it. It's going to be 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to get my DJI mic, so I'm going to record, and then I'm going to send it to Chris, and I'm going to disrupt his day saying, hey man, I don't have time to get this uploaded to whether it's video or voiceover or whatever I'm doing, and send out the text message. Can you do that for me? So I'm trying to prepare for that today so I don't impact him in a negative way. So I recorded it. And then literally I've got 6 minutes when we get done. I've got to upload it, put it into Spotify, get it ready to go, type out the text, schedule the text, and then I'm good to go. So I'm just trying to layer all that and be cognizant of how my schedule affects everybody else. It's one of the things about building out the life plan and why I use the success planner to make, because you can't separate work and life, in my opinion. There is no work-life balance. Once you have come together with your spouse and you put everything together, now it's all intertwined. And at least for me and the people that I put through my life plan program, it's easier to schedule. It's easier to prioritize because you're also cognizant of how that's going to affect your partner as well.
I mean, I think it's funny because that's the one thing I've been trying to figure out. Like, how the hell does he always do all this stuff? How do I always get a text about Superhost Sunday? How does it always get done? Like, I really think you should do like a day in the life series of, with your calendar and all that kind of stuff. Because I think some people like to see behind the scenes. But
I have done that in the past. I will definitely do that. You know what? I'm going to try to get that done this week before I go to Montana. So the biggest thing that I do, most people on their phone calendar schedule in 30-minute or 1 hour increments. I schedule in 5-minute increments. I have plenty of 5-minute calls. I mean, like Chris and I are so efficient. I'll Slack him. We'll have a 5-minute call, and we can knock out what a typical business meeting would be in 30 minutes to an hour. So like I do 20-minute calls. Like if I do a lot of free consulting and pro bono work for free, and they're always 20-minute calls. They're not 30 minutes. So I schedule my calls at 30 minutes. I don't put them back to back to back, but I know those are going to run over. So that's just learning through the efficiency. One of the most important things I ever did, and this was John Maxwell taught me this. If you know who John Maxwell is, he's one of the best, business coaches in the world. And it was probably 2014, 15. 2015 was an epic year for me. That's really when I got all my shit together. Prior to that, it was a fucking mess, like everybody else. And John, as part of his one-on-one coaching programs, and I've worked with one of his coaches, Dave Gambrill, who's a good friend of mine now. And they make you go, not a big, thing like this, but like the smaller ones that you buy at 7-Eleven or the AM, PM or whatever, that you can slide in your pocket. 24 hour. Yep, exactly. A little bit smaller than that, but yes. Yeah. And he said, you need to track everything by the minute for 7 days. And I'm like, okay. So I got done with the first day and I check in with Dave, one of his coaches. He's like, text me what you did. Just, take a picture of the paper and text it to me out of the little notebook. And he picks up the phone and he calls me. He's like, didn't John tell you to do everything? He's all, you didn't go to the bathroom today? I'm like, you want me to fucking track how long it takes me to take a shit or go to a urinal or whatever in the airport? Yes. Everything. Every single detail of everything you need to do has to have a start time and an end time. There's a reason that is in my planner. The amount of fucking time that we waste in our life that we are so not aware of was crazy to me. Now, our lives change. They change more than once a year. They change more than every 6 months. They change more than every quarter. Every quarter now I do that. I grab the little binder and I literally have a pen, and I don't wear a suit pocket where John puts his. I keep it in my backpack or whatever, but it starts from the time I get up. Alarm goes off if you use an alarm. I don't use an alarm, but I get up at 5:07 a.m. And what I found is I was laying in bed on my phone for like 20 to 30 minutes to start every single day. So now if anybody believes in the 30-30-30 from, 4-hour body and work week and all that shit from Tim Ferriss, which I do when I'm not fasting, I've just eliminated that first 30 minutes to get my 30 grams of protein, when I wake up. I've just wasted 30 minutes. Usually probably the majority of it's on social media, Facebook, emails, all that stuff, and one of the things I teach you how to build here is how you start your day personally and your morning routine, but also how you start your work day. So I had to learn how to separate my personal time getting ready in the morning to work time, because I would go right into work and wasting time. So when they saw that I was spending 20 to 30 minutes in bed like this on my phone while Bria's sleeping over there, so I don't wake her up at 5 o'clock in the morning, half of it was wasted fucking time on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And I live on social media and that type of stuff, but that needed to wait till 8 o'clock. And I'm like, well, I got to post stuff for people that are awake on the East Coast or in Europe or whatever. Well, then they're like, well, fucking do it and schedule it at 7 o'clock the night previously or the day previously. So those are just little things to optimize our lives, right? But that goes all the way through till you go to bed. How long does it take you to brush your teeth? Well, if somebody says 30 seconds, then Priscilla's probably going to say you probably need to be spending at least 2 minutes or you're really not doing it, right?
Right.
So all of those things that we find that help us optimize, and it's health, it's family, it's food consumption. One of the big things that I found is how much time I was wasting driving to get food. Literally driving. Think about it. If you're driving to In-N-Out Burger, Matt, or I go to get salads all the time, and that's the only thing now that I will drive to get typically, unless we go out to a family dinner, is I drive to a place called Chopped to get salads to eat for lunch for Bria and I. Everything else now is we literally start prep. We've been through, HelloFresh and whatever the one that starts with an F, I can't remember. We've been through like 3 or 4 of those. We don't like any of them, so now we're meal prepping, right? And we do our own meal prepping. I don't have a chef come in or anything like that, but we meal prep on Sunday to get us through just Monday through Friday, and then it's kind of all hands off on Saturday and Sunday, because that's our time, and we try to put work becomes secondary for us, right? So, but it's really kind of goes back to optimizing and what John made me go through. I make all of my individual coaching clients go through that exact same process, and probably 95% of them fail the first time that they go through because they don't track every little detail, from how long it takes to go to the bathroom, brush your teeth, but also then when you get into work, because what we find out is that we get so absorbed with what we're working on that we don't pay attention to how long something takes.
Yep.
And then when we go back and we label when we forgot things, it's like you have this aha moment. Well, oh my gosh, I was doing that for 17 minutes. What a fucking waste of time, right? Then you become, as you do that 1 or 2 or 3 times, you become very cognitive about what's happening and where you're wasting these things. It's kind of like you have these own work markers, like we have biomarkers, that then it becomes just second nature that we can track. And now you're really subconsciously optimizing as well as when you are in the forefront in the mix of it. That's how I manage my time, Austin.
Yeah, I think that's good. That's good. Yeah, I recently joined a different gym, and the one I wanted to join was 25 minutes there and back. So I was like, I don't have time to allocate 25 minutes to transport to the gym and then 25 minutes back. That you start looking at it, it's like almost an hour a day. So I joined the gym I necessarily didn't want to join, but it was 5
then
minutes.
Then you look at fuel cost, drive time, all those things, and even if your gym's 5 minutes away versus putting in your own gym. I mean, that's kind of like when I joined this Restore thing, which does like IV drips and cryo, red light, all that type of stuff. I think they're popping up all over the country now in strip centers, and I loved it. And I started at like the $169 a month, and then after like the first month, I'm at the $350 a month. And then Bria's like, I want to do that with you. She saw like my red light therapy, my face was getting better, and so like I went snowmobiling and got what do you call that, frostbite through my goggles on both sides here, and the red light therapy started removing that, which was kind of crazy. So she got in. So then she started at 160, and then it was 350. So now I'm spending $700 a month. And I'm like, okay, well, for 12 grand, I can buy the Mac Daddy sauna and the Mac Daddy red lights, exactly what they had inside Restore, right? So at $700 a month, right, it's going to take me like 15 months, and I'm literally free and clear, infinite return at that point. So that's the exact same way I look at real estate. I'm looking at those investments for me personally and my time. But what I didn't factor in is I charge $1,000 an hour for a legitimate coaching call, right? So it takes me 15 minutes to drive there. That's 30 minutes, just like your gym deal. So essentially that's costing me $500 an hour of what I value my time as, to drive for a half an hour to drive back and forth from there. So if I factor that into the $750 a month I eliminated, I'm getting a return on that in less than about 9 months versus 15 months.
Wild
So
to
you
think
guys
it's
heard
that
it
way.
here.
Very few people do. I didn't. Somebody's got to teach us how to do that shit.
This podcast costs us $1,500, everybody. I'm just kidding.
I'm texting you a Zelle right now.
You got my Venmo, I'm sure. Oh man. Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on. I'm gonna be honest. I probably wouldn't be doing this podcast if it wasn't for you and your group and everybody around in the mastermind to just push it. And I probably wouldn't be doing the meetup I do every month either if it wasn't for that. So I really appreciate what you've done for me, just kind of pushing me. So, and I appreciate you coming on and talking to everybody and giving us so much of your time. Like, it's extremely valuable. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
And I'm not necessarily part of the mastermind group, but I just want to say thanks for all the conferences that you put on. I have so many fucking friends now in this industry because of you that potentially I'd have 10% of those friends. So what you've built and the value that you've provided for me and all those people, like a lot of people are very grateful, man.
You have no idea how much that means to me, because that's why I do this. My whole family's in education. I didn't get into education until 2013. And I've done it in 4 different industries now. And I'm still in the limo industry. I still coach for free every Thursday from 1 to 2 o'clock because I love it. And it's that impact on whatever way that it is. And that's what I'll tell your audience to, if you have the ability to just impact one person and help them, whether it's in a Facebook group or whatever it is, there's no better feeling than helping people. And for all you haters and dickheads out there, yes, I have to charge because I have to have money to be able to facilitate and pay people and to do the things that I do for this type of stuff. Just like you guys need a sponsor for your podcast, right?
We don't have a sponsor. We're sponsorless.
I think I'm going to get you a sponsor.
Oh, yeah.
Send me your metrics sometime in the next few days of what your downloads are and stuff like that. I'll get you a sponsor.
Oh, they're probably going to get a lot higher now. No.
Yeah, we got to let this one sit for a while.
Yeah, don't
let it compound.
It doesn't work that way. You guys got to get on other podcasts. That's how you build your podcast, right?
I just did your podcast.
I know. Wait till that comes out. You'll get a boost in listenership for Co-Host Bros from that. That's why I spend more time going on other big podcasts as opposed to even doing my own podcast. And why I very rarely have guests on my podcast, because they actually, unless they share the content. So we don't need to get into this here, but do you guys do the graphics and the reels and send it to me, or, do that and literally ask for, what's it called on Instagram where you can't remember the name of it.
Invite the collaborator.
The collaborator. Yeah. And do that type of stuff. Most people don't do that stuff. So what you want to have happen is you want me to promote this in my group and send out email and promote on mine. And I think most people miss that when they're building a podcast. They should be reading podcast books on how to market and do that type of stuff.
Yeah, I usually do the reels for the guests, and then I'll send them to them. And then they also have their own. So obviously the option is for you to download your own automatically. So you have it locally saved on yours so you could do your own. I just run mine through AI. I don't have that kind of time to chop them up myself, but I just run through AI Reels thing, and then I'll send them, I'll just Facebook Messenger them to them. And if they can't find the copy of their video, they just let me know, and I'll just put a Google Drive and give it to them. So
awesome.
But yeah, for sure.
Well, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you everybody for listening. Tell everybody where they can find you, even though they should know by now.
Bill Faeth 73, Faeth, Bill Faeth 73 on Instagram. That's the easiest place. If you have any questions or follow up from the podcast, just DM me after you hit the follow button. Then you can DM me, and then my Build Short-Term Rental Wealth Facebook group. That's the easiest 2 places to get in contact with me.
All right. Well, everybody, please subscribe. You could follow us at Co-Host Bros on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. You can email us at info@cohostbros.com. We appreciate your time. Austin, take us out.
Yes.
The Co-Host Bros Podcast.